My favorite top 10 heavy metal vocalists of all time. We're going to start off with James Hetfield. I think Hetfield, because of albums like Live at Grimey's, makes him my number 10. I really like Symphony of Metallica and his stuff like Unforgiven. I think his vocals really shine on some of these songs. Also singles like Turn the Page, I think turn out really excellent. Hero of the Day, and tracks on Ride the Lightning, Fade to Black, Trapped Under Ice, Escape, I think makes Hetfield my favorite. Kill 'Em All album, like Motor Breath and Whiplash, Phantom Lord, No Remorse, I love that high screech. Creeping Death and Jump in the Fire EP, James Hetfield, number 10. Coming in at number 9, we're gonna go with Don Dokken. Here's his early material called Back in the Streets. I assume that he's been singing all of his life because he's got just a wonderful voice and he's done it for many years. Tooth and Nail album, like She Just Got Lucky, Heartless Heart, Don't Close Your Eyes. Under Lock and Key album, Unchained the Night track. Back for the Attack, songs like Kiss of Death. I really like their album. It's a live album. I guess it's Beast from the East. But you can hear Don Dokken's excellent vocals on this. And a solo album called Up From the Ashes. Don Dokken, number 9. Vocalist number 8, we're gonna go with Geoff Tate from Queensryche. Seattle, Washington, in the West Coast, United States. Geoff sang on this Queensryche EP, which is just amazing, effortless, high vocals. Love the vocal style. Here is live album. It's EP plus live in Japan. I really recommend getting this remastered version of the Queensryche EP. The live in Japan is just incredible vocal, just amazing. Geoff Tate's also done a variety of other projects, and basically his entire career is full of excellent singing. I also love the album The Warning. It's a full-length album, and this is the original edition. Let me show you the CD. It's like the first press that you can get, The Warning. Again, just amazing heavy metal vocal. For number 7, I'm gonna go with King Diamond. I really like his high vocal, that range, that falsetto, that effortless regurgitation of just complete blasphemy. The beginning, Doomed by the Living Dead, A Corpse Without Soul, Nuns Have No Fun, Devil Eyes. Here is their full-length Melissa. Of course, I get the original pressings because just you've got to enjoy every little snippet of what King Diamond has to offer. I also think that Happy Halloween Live turned out really good. It's a really cool album. I recommend get that one. Their debut album from King Diamond when he went solo called Fatal Portrait. So The Candle, Jonah, The Portrait, Sharon, Halloween, really great. For number 6, I'm going to go with Warrell Dane. Warrell Dane was of Sanctuary and Nevermore. So the two bands, the earlier stuff is called Sanctuary, and here's one of his solo albums called Warrell Dane, Praises to the War Machine. So Warrell Dane comes in at my number 6 because of his just amazing ability to just completely come out from the diaphragm and give a strong vocal performance all the time. His entire life, from his young years, mid-age, and even up to the time of his death, was full of just exciting vocal. The type of heavy metal vocal that I want to hear. He's high on my list because he could just belt it. So here's Nevermore's early material, Politics of Ecstasy, Dreaming Neon Black, Dead Heart in a Dead World. And if you like these albums, click like. And Memory EP, This Godless Endeavor, amazing vocals and guitar, by the way. If you're not into Nevermore, you definitely need to check them out. Enemies of Reality. The Year of the Voyager was a live album, and this has got some amazing from everybody. Drums, bass guitar, just a perfect band, really. The ultimate US power metal band. Here's a release called The Manifesto of Nevermore. And his Sanctuary stuff, I've got these autographed, actually, original pressings. Refuge Denied, the Into the Mirror Black. Here's Mirror Black and Live Reflections. And then this one's awesome, really awesome. The Sanctuary Inception really came out great. Basically, if you're a fan of heavy metal, get Sanctuary Inception. It's just incredible. For my number 5 top heavy metal vocalist of all time, my favorite is going to be Tony Martin. So he's an underrated vocalist that had a solo career, had time in Black Sabbath. I think he went back to a solo career after that. Here's an early album called Back Where I Belong. And it's not exactly hard-hitting metal, but it's very easy to listen to and very wonderful vocal. His solo album called Scream is also really good. And his project, The Cage, here's Cage Part 2, here's Cage Part 3, The Cage, third. His underrated album, Headless Cross, is really just a heavy metal masterpiece. Again, when I think of this album, I think of the vocal from Tony Martin. The Black Sabbath album called Tear, and I also have as demonstration his Live in Manchester. This is an unofficial, but really great Tony Martin material. Number 4 favorite heavy metal vocalist of all time is Paul DIANNO. He's most remembered for being the vocalist of Iron Maiden, who eventually then went solo and had several bands. The reason why he didn't stay with Iron Maiden was not because he was bad or not good for the band. It was really because he just had butterflies being on stage while Iron Maiden was becoming so successful. He wasn't ready for that type of success, but his vocals were absolutely incredible. I love the classic Maiden years with Paul DIANNO. Here's his material in his band called Battle Zone, Children of Madness. I got an earlier edition because I think the remaster didn't sound too good, so this is the one that I have. It's on Zoom Club Records. Also on Zoom Club Records is Battle Zone, Feel My Pain. So this is called Paul DIANNO's Battle Zone, Feel My Pain. It's a really great record. He also had one called The World's First Iron Man. It's definitely worth your time. It's a great record. And then his band called Killers. The album Murder One, I think is phenomenal. I mean, really, I think I started with this one, and that's why I became a Paul DIANNO fan. Their album called DIANNO and Killers Live. This is on Magnetic Air, and he's doing some Iron Maiden tunes and some of his songs from Killers, and it's a really cool album. Also, this one turned out really good. This is called Killers New Live and Rare on Deadline. I think Deadline did a really good job with a double disc edition of Killers, and the last time I listened to it, I just loved it. Paul DIANNO, freaking awesome. My number 4 of all time. For my number 3 top heavy metal vocal of all time is going to be Rob Halford. He had a solo career after Judas Priest and is probably most known for being in Priest. He also had a band called Fight and other projects, and he's still singing to this day. In fact, he's playing locally next month. His solo album called Crucible. If you haven't heard Halford Crucible, you need to get on it. Excellent production, excellent songs, memorable songs. The song She just melts my face. The album Resurrection was a solo album that he had, and I think this is the best motorcycle riding album of all time. It's just hard-hitting metal, those high screams, those shrieks that you just love from a heavy metal vocalist. In Judas Priest, I think his album Painkiller was a good demonstration of his vocal style. Screaming for Vengeance, for sure. Stained Class was another one where he was just really demonstrating his high voice capability. And probably his most passionate stuff is Sin After Sin, with songs like Last Rose of Summer. It's just a beautiful song, one of the best I've ever heard in my life. Sad Wings of Destiny is probably another good album that you could hear a demonstration of some of his really wonderful vocal. I had a couple different early editions of the Sad Wings of Destiny, not just remasters, because I found out that several of these early editions sound different from each other. So definitely, if you're a fan of Priest and Sad Wings of Destiny album, don't be afraid to explore a bunch of the early CD editions of Sad Wings of Destiny. For my number 2 favorite heavy metal vocalist of all time is gonna be Ronnie James Dio. Extensive career, starting with Elf and Rainbow, and then he was in Black Sabbath, and then he started his own band called Dio, and had an amazing long life. Rest in peace, Ronnie James Dio. Amazing output his entire life. And some of the stuff that I think is Dio's best vocal work is probably Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow. It's a classic heavy metal album with Man on the Silver Mountain and Catch the Rainbow and 16th Century Greensleeves. And the Rainbow albums that I really like with Dio in it, Rising, Rainbow Live on Stage with Kill the King, Man on the Silver Mountain, Catch the Rainbow, Mistreated, Long Live Rock and Roll with Kill the King, Rainbow Eyes, the amazing underrated double jewel case, the Live Evil. It's called the Jewel Box. This Black Sabbath Live Evil with the Sign of the Southern Cross, and Dio doing songs like Mob Rules. And then while he was in Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell album, some amazing stuff on here was Children of the Sea and Die Young. Their album Mob Rules, Turn Up the Night, the Mob Rules. The classic heavy metal album Holy Diver, Stand Up and Shout. The amazing Dio album called The Last in Line with We Rock, One Night in the City, Evil Eyes, Egypt, The Chains Are On. I love these songs. A great vocal, great songwriting. Intermission CD, you couldn't get this in the United States on CD. It was Europe only. It was released on cassette. in the US, and the album Sacred Heart. Dio went back to Black Sabbath. He did an album called Dehumanizer. And I think this also is kind of an underrated album. Computer God, After All the Dead, and Master of Insanity, and Time Machine. You know, there's a few good songs on here that are really good. Excellent vocal number 2 from Ronnie James Dio. And my favorite vocalist in heavy metal history of all time is not necessarily the best vocalist. I think Rob Halford is actually the best vocalist of all time. He's the metal god, Rob Halford. But my favorite vocalist, number 1, is Ozzy Osbourne. I think Back on Earth single and albums, the compilations like the Ozman Cometh, are probably a really good start for people who are just not into Ozzy or Black Sabbath. But you know, the Ozman Cometh has a bunch of the songs that are just kind of Ozzy Osbourne essentials on here, like Mr. Crowley, Over the Mountain, Bark at the Moon, and Shot in the Dark, Mama I'm Coming Home, I Just Want You. I think his single Perry Mason is a good example of the band and his vocal capability. I really like the song Mr. Tinker Train, and of course the album No More Tears, some of Ozzy's best vocals. And let's not forget all of Black Sabbath, the history of Black Sabbath, from Children of the Grave EP that I have here to the earliest first album, 1970. You know, so Ozzy Osbourne is basically my hero. I think he's number 1 in heavy metal history, top favorite vocalist. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.